Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layout, and today I am here for day number 30 of 30 Days of Sketches with Chrissy's Beautiful Life. Can you believe it? We made it. Today's sketch comes from Shannon, and I will post her social media link below. Shannon is on the design team for Kellybell Design, so I thought why not pay tribute to her by also using a Kellybell design kit. I pulled out this Nice to Meet You Figment mini kit. I also pulled out my Doodlebug Petite prints in Tangerine, Bumblebee, Cupcake, and Lilac because those colors work perfectly with this collection. I purchased the mini kit. There was this one card that says just one little spark that was in the other collection. And I didn't want to purchase the other collection just for one little card. And all of the pieces were in the mini kit. So I was like, why not just recreate the card? So that's what I did. All the pieces from that little card does come from the collection. I recently made a big mistake with my silhouette mat. I upgraded my silhouette about 6 months ago. And before the silhouette mats that I was purchasing, you could very easily rinse them off with warm water and then their stickiness would come back. I went to rinse it off because there was a lot of paper that was stuck to it and the adhesive completely came off the mat. So I decided that I would just use some liquid adhesive to put on my mat. It's repositionable liquid adhesive. I've used it before on Cricut mats, never had any issues, but man, that mat was super sticky. So I decided to just pull out another mat and forego using that mat. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet. I did decide to pull out my inks, and I pulled out several inks so that I could ink up the edges of the cut files. I had to pull out a purple, a yellow, an orange, a gray, and a pink. And I just basically went to town with inking up all of these little tiny pieces. Now, these photos are of me at Epcot. On this particular day, I had actually went to Epcot for a possible date, and I was stood up. I was completely dressed in my Figment outfit. I had on a Figment shirt and I had my Figment ears, and it was during the International Art Festival, which is all about Figment. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go around and get a bunch of Figment photos. I wanted to try to make sure that I could get the 2 Figment magic shots that I knew were available currently at the time. And I did have to go to a couple of different photographers to get them, but I just love the way that the photos came out, and so I wanted to do a layout that was all about Figment. I actually showed this layout to Nicole when I was working through it, and she was like, I don't get it. Like, who is that? And I realized that Figment is not a big mascot, but I have some serious core memories with Figment as a kid. So Figment is a mascot at Epcot, and he does have a ride at Epcot, which I personally love, and there is never a wait for it. If there is a 15-minute wait, that is a super long wait for Figment. It's a really slow ride. It isn't anything fancy, but I love the song. I love how Figment is silly in the ride. I just love everything about Figment. So I am following Shannon's sketch pretty closely. I have 4 photos on the right-hand side. I was unable to cut down 2 of the photos to a 4x4, so I just left them at a 4x5. The 2 photos that I did not want to cut down were the 2 magic shot photos. The one on the far right where I'm looking over my shoulder, I have the Figment wings on, and then there is one where I am pointing to the ground and Figment has done an art drawing with some chalk. The 2 photos on the left-hand side, I meant to cut them down to a 4x3 using the Project Life app, but for some reason totally forgot about it. So I did contemplate cutting them down from the 4x6 to a little bit smaller size, but I wasn't sure, so I just left it and decided to work on something else. I decided to pull out the Just One Little Spark card that I created using the inspiration from another collection in Kellybell Designs. So you could absolutely just purchase the card, or you can use the pieces from the mini kits to create your own cards like this one, or you can put any of the other pieces together to make your own 4x6 card. So if you are a pocket card scrapbooker, you can make your own cards with these collections as well. So I did decide to cut down the photos, and then I'm still trying to decide if I want to keep the photos at that much larger size. So again, going back to I'll work on something else while I think about what I'm going to do with those 2 photos. And spoiler alert, I do decide to reprint them. Over on the far right hand side, I do pull out the bubblegum petite print in the floral, and I'm going to mat the 4 photos on the right hand side. As I'm putting those down, I do want to encourage you to go check out the playlist that's listed below so that you can check out everyone's inspiration for this sketch. Shannon's social media is linked below as well. If you do not follow her and you have Disney layouts that need to be completed, I highly recommend that you follow Shannon. She's on the Kellybell Designs design team, and she has a ton of Disney layouts, not only using the Kellybell Designs collections, but also using other collections as well. I love following her for idea inspiration for my Disney layouts. I did pull out my layering guides to cut out the layers around the photos, and then I'm going to start embellishing. This little silver building here is called the Imagination Pavilion, and it is where the ride is located at in Epcot. So I added that to the right hand side of the layout, and then on top of it I added this Imagination Institute logo, which is part of the ride as well. In the upper right hand corner, I added some paint splatters. This is the Festival of the Arts, so I thought the paint would work really well, but I don't end up liking it, and I do end up taking it off. I pulled out my bottle caps again because I did have 3 little circles. I decided to pull it out in orange, purple, and white, and I'm going to add 3 circles inside of it. In the orange one, I'm going to add Imagination Mascot. In the purple one, it says purple is my favorite color. And then inside the white one, it says, how big is your imagination? And I'm going to add that to the upper left-hand corner with the rainbow. I did decide to remove the photos, and I just added my 4x3 cards that I got from a Close to My Heart kit so that I can pay attention to the placement and make sure that everything is looking right as I wait for the photos to be printed. I don't print at home, so I do have to send them off to get printed. Usually I print from Walgreens. I decided to cut out a border punch in the tangerine so that I can add it next to the 2 photos and card on the left hand side of the layout. I then decided to add the paint splatters behind the gray building. And then in the upper right hand corner, I added a little yellow gear as well as a purple star. And then there is a set of mini ears that I added to that cluster as well. I then pulled out this light bulb that has Figment's wings on it and added that to the left hand side. It did not cut out properly, so I just decided to cover up the little mistake, which is a very thin piece of paper. I covered it up by one of the bottle caps. And then I'm starting to adhere everything down. Of course, you know I have to pull out my T-square ruler to make sure everything is straight. I have a picture of myself as a kid with Dreamfinder and Figment. So this ride has had 2 versions. As a kid, so some 30 years ago, the ride was really based around Dreamfinder and using your imagination, and Figment helping Dreamfinder find all kinds of fun things to use with his imagination. And then the ride did change where now Figment is more of a problem child, is probably the best way to handle it. Figment likes to do things, and he necessarily doesn't have the best judgment on doing things properly. So he likes to make little fun gags throughout the ride, which I find hilarious, even though I've ridden it multiple times. So both of the rides I do enjoy. I do have core memories from the ride as a kid, as well as that picture with Dreamfinder and Figment. And now Figment has been brought back very recently, within the last year or so, and he is a character meet and greet, which I was super excited to get a picture with Figment when he came out. So as I'm building up my clusters, I did decide to add some word phrases to the cluster. In the upper right hand side, I added a word phrase that says "one little spark" in orange. Down on the bottom right hand side, I have a word phrase that says "sparking curiosity." And then I started to adhere the little circles inside of the bottle caps. I did purchase these bottle caps at Hobby Lobby a long time ago. I do not think that they are still available, but I was able to find them on Amazon, and I do have them linked in my Amazon storefront. I then started to work on the paint clusters again, and I did adhere everything together. I added it to the right-hand side of the layout, and I started to trim off the edges. But this entire time, I am not liking those paint clusters. It just doesn't work for this particular layout. While Figment is a part of the International Art Festival, this layout really wasn't about the art festival. It was more about Figment. So it just wasn't working. I do end up pulling it off. I then pulled out my color boxes in purple, orange, and yellow and added enamel hearts in all of the clusters. I did my journaling offline, and it's going to go right next to the photos on the right. I'm actually going to have a really long block of journaling. The journaling says, Figment is a whimsical wizard of imagination, a pint-sized purple dragon with a flair for the fantastical. Dreamed up by the genius Tony Braxter, the name Figment came to life during an episode of Magnum P.I. when a goat munched on Higgins flowers and Higgins exclaimed, "Don't tell me the goat is a figment of my imagination. Figments don't snack on rare tropical blooms." Figment steals the spotlight of the Festival of the Arts, and this year I snagged not one but 3 magic shots, including those fabulous Figment wings. Seriously, he's the dragon of my dreams. And then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. I hope you guys have enjoyed this month of 30 days of sketches, and I am super excited to be able to bring you a layout a day for the entire month of October. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.